Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for tonight's webinar, which is Successfully Navigating the Dental School Application Process with ADEA. Tonight, we're joined by Shantae James, who is the Director of Predoctoral Application Services at the American Dental Education Association, also known as ADEA. During this session, you will hear real-world advice and top tips on managing the ADEA Associated American Dental Schools Application Service application process. Shantae, feel free to take it away.
Hello, and thank you, everyone. Again, my name is Shantae James. Today, I will be talking about successfully navigating the dental school application. And joining me, we have a few dental students, Philip Martin from Nova. We have Aparicio Peggins from Meharry and Will Simter from Nova Southeastern University, excuse me. They will be sharing their dental experience and their application process with you shortly. To prepare for applying, go to ADEA Go Dental webpage where you can find great resources. You will also find information about how to apply the ADEA AADSAS application. There's also a help center and customer service if you have any questions about applying. So this is the main page that you want to go to preparing you to apply to dental school. Here's the home page to create an account. Once you create an account, this is what you'll see on the right side, which is the dashboard. The ADEA AADSAS application opens on May 11th this year. Submission date is on June 1. We provide the submission date to allow you a couple of weeks to start your application and then give you time to look at it before you submit it to eliminate any errors that may occur during you creating the application. And then the application closes on February 2nd. Again, at the bottom where you see ADEA.org, Go Dental Apply is where you go to the website and to create an application. Reapplicants from the previous application cycle will be presented with a checklist allowing them to reuse information within the new application. So if you are a reapplicant, this is all the information that you will see will roll over to the new application once you start. So the only thing that you have to do is that select that reapplicant button, and that if all this information that you see here will be into your new AADSAS application. As you can see, the ADEA AADSAS application dashboard is broken down into 2 tabs and panels, right? So along on the top of the application are the main navigation tabs and guiding you through the various steps of the application process. On My Application tab on the left side of the screen, you will be presented with important notifications from ADEA AADSAS regarding your application. So for example, if you have an error in your application, we will notify you to let you know that you have not completed the coursework section in your application correctly. So it's very important to look at that My Notification section. In the center of the screen are the 4 sections of the application. As an applicant completes the application process, each section will turn into a green circle, which will show you the progress of your AADSAS application. So here is the personal information section. This is what we consider as the first quadrant of the ADEA AADSAS application. The personal information section has 8 sections to complete as seen on the left side of the screen. You'll see the birth date, the contact information, citizenship, race and ethnicity, spoken languages, and criminal history. All that information is important in completing the application. In the other information section at the bottom of the screen, ADEA has added a COVID question for the applicant to answer. Dental schools want to know how the pandemic has impacted your preparation to apply to dental school. There's a 3-category text box that we added. Actually, it's 1 text box, but in the text box, we're asking you to answer questions pertaining to how did the pandemic affect you academically? How did it affect you professionally? And how did it affect you personally? So we added this question during the last cycle to accommodate those applicants that were impacted by this. So what's new for the 2021-22 application cycle? There was a section in there, was a childhood residency section that we removed in the application. So what happened with that section is that now the dental schools are asking that question in their own program material section in the ADEA AADSAS application. The second quadrant is what we call the academic history quadrant. So this section asks for 4 parts of your applicant's academic preparation. Applicants are required to list all colleges or universities attended, any degree earned, and standardized test scores. Next is the supporting information section. The section on supporting information, this is a location where you have to enter in who's writing your letters of evaluation. You're entering your work experiences, your achievements, anything about licenses that schools wants to know about that. And this is where you have to write your personal statement, which is very important. As you may know, dental shadowing has been an issue for some students this year because some students are concerned that they are not meeting the dental school shadowing hours, right? So what we've done at ADEA and the advisory group are a group of members that serve on this advisory group. We come together and make a decision on what's needed for the applicant. So we decided to add in a dental shadowing virtual experience in this supporting information section. So when you're creating a test account, you'll see that information in there. It's very important to write a good personal statement and explain why you chose to pursue a career in dentistry. When you're writing your personal statement, make sure that everyone looks at that. Make sure there's no grammar, there's no mistakes, bad grammar mistakes in your personal statement, because once you submit that application, you cannot make any changes to your personal statement. I'm sorry. Next is the program material section, right? So this is the section where the dental schools enter all of their information. This section is one of the most important parts of it, where you are selecting the dental schools that you're interested in applying to. So you'll see that section shortly. And so what's going on new for this application cycle is that we've added a new document tab which will allow dental schools to ask applicants for additional materials. At one point, like last year, we didn't have that feature. We found out that dental schools need more information from applicants. So we allowed the admission officers to ask that question in the program materials section for the upcoming cycle. So they may ask you for additional information as far as your letters of evaluation, or they may ask you for whatever documents that the schools are looking for. Applicants can submit up to 4 letters of evaluation. Last year, the committee letter was counted as 3. This year, the committee letter is counted as 1. So you are required to submit you can submit up to 4 letters of evaluation. During this process, we encourage you to monitor the status of your letters of evaluation to make sure ADEA AADSAS has received it. There's been times when applicants will contact us and ask for a specific letter, and the letter writer hasn't submitted it in. So always check the status of your application. So here is what the ADEA AADSAS application looks like. Once you submit the application, you will come up with all this information in reference to, so for example, you apply to University of Colorado, right? And so here you can select up to 70 dental schools if you're interested in applying to those programs. And here's another part of the application where you can look at and see if your transcripts or your letters of evaluations were received. Here you can check the status to say, okay, I received this transcript from this particular school, and I'm missing a transcript for a different school. So it'll tell you what your status is. So this is where you can check the status of your applications at all times. This is very important because if we don't have all of your transcripts, your application will not be processed. In order for us to process your application, all of your transcripts must be received from all the colleges and universities that you attended. So to apply to dental school, the first designation is $259. Each additional designation is $112. Of course, we only accept credit card and debit cards. No cash is accepted. Most programs charge what you call a supplemental application fee in addition to the ADEA AADSAS application fee. You will find the additional supplemental application fee in the program materials section in the ADEA AADSAS application. So make sure you check out what the application fee is for each dental school that you are applying to. So here's an applicant summary. So the ADEA AADSAS applicant summary is a snapshot of the applicant's complete record. The summary sheet provides dental school admission staff a quick reference of application information by displaying highlighted information about your background, academics, experiences, and achievements. And so the advisory group decided to come up with this because they wanted to take a snapshot of what the applicant actually looked like, the applicant's record. There's so many pages of an applicant's record that they have to look at. So they decided, well, let me just get a snapshot of these certain sections to see what we are looking at as far as the applicant is concerned. So like here, you see the biographical information, academic history, supporting information, and the academic audit. So the academic update. The academic update gives you the ability to update your courses that you have in progress or in plan. So these are the dates that we have open. We'll open up the academic update August 13th to September 30th, and also through December 2nd to February 2nd. So this gives you the ability to go in and update your grades. You will get an automatic email that will come from ADEA to say that the academic update period is open. Also, if you have to update your grades, make sure that you submit your transcripts in order for us to review and verify that the information is correct. So ADEA has a great resource. This is one of the resources that I like to talk about, which is the Fee Assistance Program. And this is for students that are experiencing some type of financial hardship. And so the way that this works is that if you are approved for the Fee Assistance Program, ADEA will cover up to $483 for the schools, for the first 3 schools. And you cannot submit your application. If you are applying for this, you cannot submit your application until you are approved for FAP. If you have any questions, the email address is at the bottom, fapaccess@adea.org. And here are some additional resources that we always like to talk about. Of course, ADEA Go Dental, which I mentioned earlier today, where you can find anything about preparing to apply, applying to dental school, interviewing process, all of that is found on ADEA Go Dental. We also have the ADEA Official Guide to Dental School, which is available for applicants. That's $40, that's online, you can purchase that. We have the Dental School Explorer, which is online. The official guide is a paper copy. The ADEA Dental School Explorer is an online copy for you. We have the ADEA Go Dental Virtual Fair, which is approaching May 18th through the 20th. We just added the 3rd day, so it's 18th through the 20th instead of May 18th and the 20th. It's a free online event where you have a chance to chat with over 50 dental school admission officers. You can also chat with the ADEA AADSAS customer service rep, and there will be someone there to talk about the Fee Assistance Program and financing your dental education. So we encourage you to register for that event. And so, as I mentioned, these are my 5 tips to applying to dental school. Make sure you read your ADEA AADSAS instructions very clearly, carefully before applying to dental school. Apply early. Like I said, the application opens on May 1. It closes February 2nd, but submission is on June 1. So make sure that you, when you create your account and start completing your application, just check and make sure that there's no errors. You always have a family member to look at it or an advisor to help you to look at it so you don't have any errors. Make sure you submit all your official transcripts to ADEA AADSAS. Again, we cannot process your application without receiving your official transcripts. And make sure to monitor the status of your application at all times. So if you have any questions, here is the contact information. We have a great customer service team. You can reach them at accessinfo@accessweb.org, or please feel free to call them at 617-612-2045. Thank you. Now, I'd like to introduce my fabulous dental students to share their experience about not only applying to dental school, but their experience in dental school. So I am going to turn the mic over first to Philip.
Good evening, everyone.
I'm sorry, Philip, can you first introduce yourself and then share a little bit of information about applying to dental school?
Yes, ma'am, sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Philip Martin, and I am currently a first-year dental student at Nova Southeastern University College of Dental Medicine, and super excited to answer questions that you all may have, and also share a little bit about my process applying as well. And but you're doing the right thing even by being here, by gaining the information from other dental students, and using the resources that you have available to you, both online. There's a lot of YouTube channels out there, but hope that this can be a helpful time for you guys. So definitely, I just wanted to mention just like 2 or 3 really quick things, and then I'll let the other dental students share as well. But just to give you a little bit about my experience, I actually took a gap year after I graduated from the University of Florida in 2019. I didn't apply immediately after dental school. I worked a year, got my application together, continued shadowing, and then applied. And I honestly think for me personally, that was the best decision for me. Everybody has a different situation, but I'm glad that I waited, because I probably would have had to either do like a master's in biomedical sciences if I would have rushed, because my application was just not ready. And I learned that I should wait by talking to other dental students. I told them my DAT scores. I showed them the experiences that I had, and they said, Phil, I think it would be best that if you waited, got those letters of rec completed, and not rush the process, because just like Ms. Shantae was sharing, like applying to dental school is very expensive, very, very expensive. You want to make sure that when you do apply, you are ready, you've been thorough, and that you're prepared to give yourself the best shot at applying to these dental schools. So that was another big thing I wanted to emphasize. Second thing I also wanted to emphasize is something called the letter of intent. This was not something that I was aware of till I heard from other dental students. The letter of intent is basically you choose like your #1 choice, the #1 dental school of your dreams, and you send them an email after you've applied, just thanking them to even be involved in their application process. You normally email that to the dean of student affairs, or you can email it to whoever oversees the admissions process. Like I just Googled it for Nova. Nova was my first choice because I'm from South Florida. So I Googled who oversees the admissions team at Nova. The dean came up, the academic dean, and then I went ahead and emailed her. And having that correspondence with her, I think really helped show interest and show persistence that I wanted to be in their dental school program. So yeah, those are 2 brief things that I wanted to share. Applying when you're ready, letter of intent. And the last thing I wanted to share also is, there's different third-party systems available to track your letters of recommendation. You just want to make sure that you keep track of that, even if you don't use those systems. Like make sure you keep track of it in your computer. Talk to your professors early, reach out to them in advance, because especially with COVID, a lot of things are delayed. So definitely want to be proactive. If a professor can't write it for whatever reason, then you want to have time to ask somebody else as well. So those are 3 brief things that I just wanted to share, and then I'll go ahead and turn it over to Aparicio.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Aparicio Pagans. I am a second-year dental student at Meharry Medical College School of Dentistry. I'm also a graduate of Morehouse College, originally from Memphis, Tennessee. And I will say 2 things that benefited me the most were keeping order in terms of having all of my application materials in order. I actually kept things in the Google Doc. So aside from the actual AADSAS application portal, before I ever actually opened the portal, I knew what was going to be requested of me. So you're in this webinar, everything that's going to be requested has been listed. So I began to put the materials together beforehand, before the date opened. You know when the application cycle is going to open. So I built a Google Doc of the things that I knew that would be necessary. I went ahead and asked for a strong letter of recommendation from the people I had pinpointed. I had already requested my transcripts from the schools that I have attended. And I had already began working on my personal statement, all on an external drive. When I say external, I mean like a Google Doc. So when the application opened, I was able to submit early because all of the materials were already together in one central location. So essentially, I was going into the portal pasting what I had already written that was prepared. And I would say that just made the process much easier for me. I actually had to apply twice, so I had to go back in and kind of scan through things and see how they were going the second time around. But it's a very user-friendly portal. But I would say keeping order and maintaining some structure with the way that you put your materials together, even before the portal opens, will benefit you the most. And I'm able to answer any other questions aside from that, but that's just my first key of advice.
Thank you. Will?
Hi guys, my name is Will Simpner. I am a fourth year student at Nova. I'm actually finishing my last clinical requirement tomorrow with my last patient before graduation. So congrats to you guys on about to start this road. I know how exciting it is and nervous you guys are, but I think both Philip and Appreciate pretty much covered a lot of the key points. Definitely the organization's important, and any questions you may have, don't be hesitant to reach out to people for advice. Family's great, and also any resources that your individual schools may have. Most schools will have a writing center that are absolutely amazing. Here at Nova, we have a writing center. I applied for residency, and that was a very key thing for me to check my grammar, and also my family members reading, making sure things come across well in your personal statement. One thing is try to avoid cliches in your personal statement. Make things as personal as possible. I think a lot of people get trapped into making things sound a little vague and general. So when you're saying certain things, give an example of your experiences. Maybe it is related to dentistry, maybe it's not. Whatever it is, make it personal. That's your time to shine and make yourself stand out. Personal experience, work experience is great. I think that became my benefit. I'm a non-traditional applicant. After I graduated from undergrad, I took off about 5 years before I finally really made sure that I really want to go on this road. So I worked, I traveled, did what I needed to do to make sure that that was the right path for me. Maybe that's not the case for a lot of you guys. Maybe you guys are about to graduate from your senior year in college, which is great. Just my main point is make your personal statement shine. Have as many people read it as much as possible, and make sure that the real you is coming through in those papers. Yeah.
Thank you. Tony, are you speaking?
Yeah, definitely. So I think this is a good time for us to go to the to open up the Q&A from what we have from the crowd. And you know, first off, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here. You know, I think there's, you know, we want to make an impact on the dental community moving forward, and I think this webinar is really going to do that. The first question I have is, does your DAT have to be completed in order to submit the application?
No, your DAT does not have to be submitted to ADEA AADSAS in order for us to verify and submit your AADSAS application. We understand that students have to wait for those scores to come in. So once those scores are submitted to ADEA AADSAS, we will, of course, attach it to your application record. Then that information is automatically sent over to the dental schools.
I can confirm. My second time applying to dental school using the portal, I submitted my application and went to take the DAT a week later. And everything worked out fine, as you can see.
Good. And I have a question for the panelists right now. The question states, should letters be 2 from professors and 2 from dentists? But let's put a little twist on that. What type of letters did you gain from your letter writers, and what type of letters did you ask for? I know Aparicio said, I want a strong letter of recommendation Could you speak to that a little bit, and why'd you use that specific language as far as strong? Because, you know, there could be a difference from I asking for a regular letter, right? So
Right.
if you could speak to some of that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so absolutely. I made sure that I say strong because, well, one, it's important that you ask for the right thing. If you're asking for a letter, they could write any type of letter, but you want to ensure that the person that you're asking for a letter from is the right person to write you a letter. And if you can be specific about what you want them to write, then you can answer their question for yourself. If you're not the right person to write me a letter and I ask you to write a strong letter, then I trust that you're going to be honest enough to say, you know what, I can't write you a strong, I can't write that letter because I don't have anything positive to say. So you're kind of guiding the person that's going to write your letter in the right direction. So it's very important to ask to be specific in your request. So like whenever I ask for a letter, I always ask for a strong letter. I'm very specific. But for me, I had I would say a multitude of types of people to write my letter. So I went to a PhD program after I graduated from Morehouse. But the first letter that I requested was from one of my undergraduate professors who I was a part of their laboratory. He wrote one of my letters. My second letter was from a mentor that I gained while in a PhD program. And she wrote one of my letters. She was a researcher. She was a doctor of, I guess, a PhD in the Department of Biochemistry. My third letter was from my experience in shadowing. Actually, my experience in shadowing went from my a shadowing experience to me becoming a lab tech in the dental office that I worked at. And the third letter came from a dental professional. My fourth letter came from the director of my PhD program, who I would say is a professor. So 3 came from professors. 2 of those were from at the graduate level. 1 was at the undergraduate level. And 1 of my letters came from a dental professional.
Thank you for that, Aparicio. Philip, would you like to add anything to that?
I definitely would say, you know, going to a large institution, it can be challenging to ask a science professor for a letter of recommendation when there's like 200 people in the class. So the best way, I think, to combat that is to email the professor and say, Professor so-and-so, I would love to sit down with you and thank you for everything you've helped me with in the class, and also discuss a few things with you. Let me know when you're available, or like you can go to office hours. And doing that, like I did that with my physics professor. And, you know, if you get like a high B or A in the class, you could go speak with them. And I got to share a little bit about my story, you know, the experiences that I've had, why I wanted to pursue dentistry. And having that conversation with him allowed him to write a strong letter of recommendation that Aparicio is talking about. So definitely keep that in mind. If you're struggling to like get a letter from a professor, email them and sit down with them first, because they can't write a letter if they don't know you. But just even that 15, 20-minute conversation, a lot can be conveyed in that short time.
Thank you for that, Philip. Will, do you have anything you'd like to add?
From my experience, since I was trying to figure out what I want to do with my life for those 5 years and working, for me, I went to undergrad. I studied music. So I was really close to my music professor who I studied with for 4 years. And so I got one of my letters from him. So that was a little bit different. And then I got a letter from my shadowing dentist, who I've been shadowing for over 2-3 years. So that's my route. And then I took a course in molecular bio or microbio. I don't quite remember now. But so I knew that I would need more strong recommendation letters. So I talked to her before, hey, I'm taking your course and I'm really hoping to apply to dental school. And like Philip said, just start that conversation as early as possible, what your intentions are, what your future plans are. Be sincere in your passion and what you want to do and what you plan to do. And I think that comes across to people when the more sincere and real you are. But you got to start that conversation as early as possible, because you don't want to wait till May 1st and be asking, so, hey, I'm applying to dental school in a few weeks. Can you please write me a letter? It's awkward. You know what I mean? So the earlier, the better. And the more you build that relationship, the more conversations you had with them over a year, the better. Like it's it's obvious, right? I mean, you don't want a letter from someone that's going to be sounding generic like everyone else. Like, just think about the college admissions. They have heard and read everything that you can think of. Everything. I mean, of course, people want everyone to get in. So people are going to say how wonderful you are and how great of a student you are, but you want more personal stories from these faculty. The more personal, the more real. It's like, hey, this guy, you know, been through a lot, and they have been working really, really hard, and their grades really improved. Maybe they started not being like a C+ student, and then they worked their way up. They really study, and they're a team player. All those keywords, you know, worked into highlighting you and make you stand out in your application. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that, Will. And I'm getting a couple of questions regarding transcripts, so I'm going to direct this towards Shantae. Shantae, are high school transcripts required for the ADEA application? And how are transcripts sent, and how do you would like them sent? And, you know, how are they sent electronically? Are they sent through mail? What should a student do in order to send the transcript effectively?
So in the AADSAS application, there is a request form that we are asking applicants to attach to the transcript. So what they have to do, once they print that transcript matching form, they send it to their registrar's office. The registrar also will take that matching form and send that matching form and the transcript to ADEA AADSAS.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I'm scrolling through the questions right now, and I'm seeing one regarding the fee assistance program. When should a student apply for fee assistance?
So the fee assistance program opens up May 11th, and that's when they should apply. So they have to apply early, because once funds are depleted, then that's pretty much it. And sometimes funds can be depleted within 3 to 4 weeks. So if you qualify, make sure you go on our website, go to the Help Center to read about FAP. If you qualify, then please apply when we open on May 11th.
Thank you for that. And before, you mentioned about the Gold Dental events that are happening on May 18th and 20th. How could someone go about getting that information?
So that information will be, we normally send like a e-blast out to our applicants, and we put it in our newsletter, and we send it out to associations and the health profession advisors, listserv, community actually. And so that's how we get the message out. And they're welcome to, like I said, go on our website. We will definitely have it posted there. So it's May 18th through the 20th.
Okay, perfect. So we actually have a question here from a high school student, and I'm going to direct this more towards the panel. So as a high school student, what classes and credits did you take before applying to dental school? The student seems to be a go-getter, and they want to stay on top of things.
High school. Okay. So I'll start off by answering that question. For one, in hindsight, I will say it does not matter what you major in college, as long as you have the prerequisite courses. And those courses are biology 1, biology 2, general chemistry 1, general chemistry 2, organic chemistry 1, organic chemistry 2, physics 1, and I believe physics 2, depending on the school. You have to have for mathematics, there's a pre-calculus. I'm not certain that it goes past calculus, but that depends on the school as well. Aside from that, it does not matter what classes you take or what your major is. I was a psychology major in college, and I did not have the majority of the prerequisite courses until after I graduated. I had to go to a post-baccalaureate program. So take that with a grain of salt there. But depending on the specific school that you're applying to, the requirements can get extensive as it relates to physics and mathematics.
Thank you. Philip, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I thought that was pretty thorough, for sure. I agree.
Perfect. What about you, Will?
I mean, yeah, it doesn't matter what what you major in. I mean, I was a music major, so there you go. But I mean, yes, you still need those prerequisites, whatever you want to do. But I say in your undergrad, just enjoy yourself, do whatever you want to major in, but you still need those courses. I have some music classmates. She's a great pianist, but this whole time I didn't know she was taking all these science courses on the side while she's still enjoying herself and playing music and performing piano, all this time. And she's already graduated like 4 years ahead of me. So yeah, just enjoy and make sure you take those prerequisites. Just check on the website too. I actually, after I did my music degree, I added a nutrition degree on top because I thought that was an interesting topic, and that kind of helped me cover all my requirements for dental school. So that's how I did mine.
Thank you for that. And a lot of questions are coming in regarding a strong personal statement. What are some of the tips that you can give some of our viewers today regarding how to create a very compelling personal statement?
One tip that I have is be yourself and definitely start writing early. So a personal statement is a snippet into your life for someone who doesn't know you to read the statement, think that you're, one, a good writer, two, you have a story that can compel them to continue reading the story after the first paragraph, and three, something that would also tell them that you have the drive to make it through dental school because it's hard. It's not easy. From first year, second year, third year, fourth year, there's a different challenge every year. And you want your statement to be so compelling that they believe that you can meet all those challenges and surpass them. So start writing early and be true to yourself. Like tell the truth about who you are. That's not to say make it a sob story or anything like that, but be honest about your life and the specific thing that you want to write about.
Definitely agree. Want to echo that, and also pull from your experiences. Like some of the best experiences that I wrote about in my personal statement, I had to go back and think about the dentist I shadowed. And like there is a specific patient, make sure to not mention any names because of HIPAA rules and things like that, but specific patient that her reaction after receiving her final restoration was life-changing, and being able to express that that's the type of rewarding profession that I wanted to be doing and pursue, being able to put that in the personal statement, that helps them see why you even want to pursue dentistry. I mean, that's going to be the first question that they ask you probably in any interview. So if you can start to even touch on that and even have like some type of theme of resiliency or of grit, because dental school is challenging, that definitely will help clue them in and grab their attention quickly. Because I wasn't the best writer. I had many advisors look at it and other people look at it, but it was real. It was authentic, like Aparicio was saying, and it showed my knowledge of the profession as well, because I even used some dental terminology in the personal statement. So definitely, think about the experiences that you've had. I personally think that the experiences section in your DAT are like huge. And then of course your personal statement, but those three are like the heavy hitters that get you an interview. You know what I'm saying? So people are always worried about GPA, and have a solid DAT, have these experiences and personal statement, and I promise you it'll take you very far.
And I do want to mention that it's very important to have someone to read your personal statement. And some applicants will come back and ask, can they revise their personal statement? They can't revise it. We will not allow them to go back into their ADEA AADSAS application to revise their personal statement. Some applicants has asked if they can send their personal statement to the dental schools because they made some errors. I'm not sure how the dental schools feel about that, but they want you to, write a good personal statement once, and they don't want to keep receiving a revised personal statement.
As an anecdote to that, for those writers who are very sensitive about their work, and I know I'm one of those people as well, just go out on a limb and really have people read your letter. We can't say that enough. When I write something, I think it's the best thing ever written, to be honest. But that's not true. It's just from my perspective. So it comes off like a piece of work, like a piece of art. And that's a subjective thing, but writing isn't always subjective. Like the structure isn't always subjective. So don't be afraid to allow someone to read your work and to humbly accept the feedback, because they really might have your best interest at heart.
Thank you for that, Aparicio. And you know what? It's, we're having questions directed specifically to you. You shared earlier that you had to apply more than once. Would you mind elaborating on that and the things you did differently in order to ultimately get accepted by Meharry?
Yes, sure. So the first time that I applied, my DAT score wasn't great. My DAT score wasn't great. My GPA was average. My GPA was about a 3.4 overall, and I believe my science GPA was like a 3.2. My DAT score, the first time taking it, I believe was a 16. And all of the scores were fine, but I had never taken organic chemistry. I literally had never taken the class before. So when I got to the organic chemistry section of the DAT, it was all guesswork. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I guessed my way through the organic chemistry portion of the DAT my first time taking it, and it showed because the score was so low that it brought my overall score down. So I did not get into dental school, I believe, based on that fact. I thought I was a phenomenal candidate. I thought I had a lot of experience, but I knew where my errors were. So I took the class, and it was pretty much that simple. So going back into the application, I didn't have to change much, although I did scan through and ensure that things were in order. The DAT was the biggest hurdle for me because the score was so low, in my opinion, that it hindered me from getting looks at bigger name schools, although I think Meharry was the perfect place for me. I think I wanted to be in a different regional location. So because my score wasn't high enough, I think that the schools in those locations didn't give me a shot. But primarily the DAT was my, I guess, the most bothersome part of my application process. But the portal wasn't necessarily anything that was holding me back or anything that was difficult to navigate. It was more so just that portion of the application.
Thank you for that. And, we're getting questions that are more specific to the application, necessarily, and it's regarding post-submission changes. So Shantae, I'll bring this one to you. What changes can you make to the ADEA application post-submission?
So in the ADEA AADSAS application, it'll tell you, I know the biographical information section, you can make changes to it, right? You can make changes throughout the application cycle until it closes. But there are certain sections, I'm sorry, I don't know exactly what there are, but if they go into the Help Center, it'll let them know what sections that they can make changes to.
Thank you. And Will, this question is for you. How many clinical hours did you have when you submitted your application?
I'm guessing you mean shadowing hours?
Correct.
I'm trying to remember, and I think because I was with my shadowing dentist for quite a while, I would say over 200 hours. Because I would go maybe 2-3 times a week. I don't know, it depends on the school. So whatever program you're interested in, I would check and make sure whatever their requirements of hours are, and take a sheet and keep a record of all your shadowing, just in case they need verification and signature from your shadowing dentist. I don't know, I wouldn't worry too much about that part, but most schools, I say they recommend, I don't know, what would you guys say? I don't remember, honestly, it's been so long, but I think most require over 100 hours at least, right? Okay.
Yeah. And
sure.
Philip, I'd love for you to chime in as well. You're in the first year of dental school, correct? So, when you applied, it was probably around COVID time, right? So could you speak a little bit about some of the experiences you did in order to supplement your application?
Yes, for sure. Definitely. I applied just like right before COVID hit with my application because I'm finishing up my first year tomorrow. But I definitely would say, I know it's been challenging to shadow because of COVID, but now that dental offices are open, I would definitely send emails, be bold, because even a few more months of shadowing could make a big difference in your application. And I think somebody even asked earlier, like, how do you know if you're ready to apply? And I think that shadowing and being able to ask the dentist those questions and see those patient interactions will prepare you not only for the application process, but also for the interviews as well. So definitely, I know it's been difficult, but continue to ask. You know, the worst thing that they could say is no. And I agree. The average I would say is at least about 100 hours shadowing, but that's not like a set number. But dental schools, you know, they do want to see that you've at least shown effort in trying to shadow. Because yes, COVID affected this last year, but they're going to be wondering, you know, what did you do the last 4 years? If you're like a senior or things like that. So just keep that in mind.
And I do want to make a comment about that. Because of the COVID-19, ADEA came up or created a COVID-19 webpage on ADEA Go Dental. And so applicants can find information that dental school posted about what they're looking for. That includes coursework exceptions, it includes shadowing hours, it includes interview format, and it also includes deadline date. So I welcome them to go to ADEA Go Dental and look at that page.
Thank you for that. And Shantae, I have a question for you. We're joined by a few pre-health advisors, right? And you know, part of their job is really trying to help their students from point A to point B. And I guess the question here is, you know, are they able to access the ADEA application, not necessarily submit it, but can they, you know, access an application just so that they can have conversations with their advisees?
Sure. So what we normally do is that when we open up, prior to us opening up ADEA AADSAS, we send a message out to advisors on the health prof, in the health prof community. I keep saying listserv. And so we encourage advisors to create a test account. You can create a test account and not submit, and that will help you to help answer questions from the applicants. I am also posting a message in the next couple of weeks. I am sending an ADEA AADSAS overview recorded presentation to help the advisors to answer some of those questions that they may be receiving from applicants. So yes, they can create a test account on May 11th. They can't do it now, of course, it's closed, but May 11th, they can do that.
Thank you for sharing that, Shantae. And this question I'll give to Philip. How did you decide which schools you wanted to apply to, and how many schools did you apply to?
For sure, that's a great question. Definitely, there's books out there, you know, that have like the list of all the schools. For me personally, I looked on each school's website and tried to see like their mission statement, tried to see if they, you know, were interested in doing like community service, like community work as well. But definitely recommend applying to your schools in state for sure. And then also you can apply to schools out of state as well. Just make sure to do your research on each school. But just keep in mind, just don't apply to just random schools. Make sure to research and see, can you see yourself there? Because these applications are very, very expensive, and you want to make sure that you're applying somewhere. But definitely, I'd say at least 10 or more. I know it's different for everybody, but just to give you perspective, to be very transparent, you know, I applied to 10 schools. I only interviewed at 4 and got accepted at 2. So granted, it was my first time applying, and you know, but still, it's very difficult. There's a lot of applicants. Dentistry is a great profession, so you just want to give yourself the best chances possible.
And I think it goes into doing your research, right, Philip? Like understanding what that program offers. I know one thing I like to tell students is know your why, and then learn that school's why, and make sure that both of those align. So if you follow that guidance, I think it'll go a very long way. Aparicio, I have a question for you. Could you speak to the secondary application process and how it may differ from primary applications?
You know, actually, I can't. I don't recall submitting a secondary application. I don't believe the Meharry requested that from me. So after I applied the first as well as the second time, that was it. They actually, the first time they did not request an application or a secondary application. And the second time before I even got to apply, submit the secondary, they waived it. So I can't speak much to that, but I believe it's an extension of your personal statement, kind of like a sideshow.
Can I say a little bit about that?
Definitely, Shante.
Some schools request a secondary application. I'm not sure if this is the question that the applicant is asking. Some schools request a secondary application, and what that is, that's an application outside of ADEA AADSAS. So the secondary application is something that the schools are looking for additional questions. Like one school, I'm gonna use IO for example, may ask for additional questions that we're not asking in the application. So that's what a secondary application is. And so some schools ask for a fee for that secondary application as well. So that information, of course, is in the program material section. And it will link them to the supplemental application if they have one.
Thank you for the clarification, Shante. Definitely appreciated. As far as the next question I have, Aparicio, would you like to take this one instead? What is the hardest challenge you've had to overcome? And we could actually share that with the entire panel as well. So if it resonates with you, feel free to comment.
Oh, that's easy. The hardest challenge that I had to overcome was accepting failure. When I say failure, I mean taking the DAT and realizing, like, as soon as my score popped up on the screen, my first time taking the DAT, I knew I wasn't getting into school. And accepting that was difficult for me. And it wasn't a short battle. It was a long battle because I knew that it would be a year before I could apply again. So I had the entire time as I was prepping for school, I built a mantra within myself, and I knew that I was the best candidate in the entire nation applying to dental school. I knew I was the best. So once my DAT score popped up on the screen, and I had to rest and wrestle with the fact that I wasn't getting into school, that was difficult for me to overcome. But through failure, we find good things. I was able to take that, figure out where my flaws were, and build on that foundation, knowing that, all right, the next year, I know that there's no way that the school can tell me no. And I truly believe that. And here we are. I got into school, and I feel as if not only my life, but the trajectory of my career compounded in a way that I wouldn't have imagined. So, and I could tell you all the things that I'm doing now, but I'm just letting you know, accepting failure was a difficult thing for me after I had built myself up to know that I was the best that there could be. And I felt as if I was the best, and I still feel that way. So, it's just humility in failure, and you just have to accept it.
That's so good. I definitely agree. I'll echo that and let Will answer for sure. But yeah, just be transparent with yourself. Everyone has a weak spot in their application. And if you're able to find that weak spot and work on it, that's going to go such a long way. For me, it was the same thing. It was my DAT. And during my gap year, I took my DAT a second time. And being able to submit that second score, it shows persistence. It shows resilience. It shows that you are truly interested in entering the field. And I used DAT Bootcamp the second time around, and it did leaps and wonders for me because it has so many practice problems. For me, I learned by problems, by doing problems, even the ones I got wrong, learning from that. It was a game changer for me. So those are for all the people, with the DAT questions that definitely will help as well. But also being patient with this process. I was waitlisted at the University of Florida and at Tufts, and got accepted to both of those later down the road in, I think, late March. And that's like so late in the game. Some people, think their life is over December 3rd, and that is not the case. Like, keep fighting. You guys, each person in here can get accepted to dental school if you want it, if you really want it that bad. So stay with it. It's worth it. If you have to take a year or two to do a program, do what you need to do in order to do a profession that you want to do for the rest of your life, and be able to provide for your family. So definitely that's what I would echo as well.
I just wanted to add, don't put yourself down. Like, it is a long process and it's a waiting game. So I think that's the most difficult part. I know it's going to be a hard one and everyone does it, but checking on the student doctor network, that's like a big thing that a lot of people check all the time, just to like calm themselves down, who got interviews and who didn't. Just so you know, I interviewed at a couple places. I got waitlisted to Houston and I never heard back. But then I got an interview from Nova on the last day of November, and I got accepted the very next day after my interview. But then I'm just trying to make a point here. One of my classmates, he didn't even get waitlisted. He wasn't accepted. But I don't know what happened, but a week before classes start the following year, he got a call from Nova and he got accepted. And he is one of the smartest guys I have ever met. He's one of the top producers in our clinic, and he has changed like a lot of people's lives. And he won a bunch of cosmetic awards for doing the work that he's done in the clinic on patients. So my point is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean anything if you don't get interviewed it's just a long process. There's thousands of applicants. So how do you distinct yourself? Well, your personal statement, that's huge. Yes, someone just mentioned a question I was just answering actually about community service. Should it be weighed the same as shadowing dentists? I think it should. Even if it's not related to dentistry, it matters. It shows that your involvement in your community and your willingness to go out there, doing something bigger than yourself, putting your ego aside. I think that's a major part of it, connecting with people. You're going to dentistry, so you're going to be talking to people, all right? So that's part of it. So if you're not a people person or you're shy, it's okay. But if you absolutely hate people, I don't know if that might not be the right path in dentistry, okay? But or do some community service where you're just working with people. I think that shows a lot of interest and your ability to work with people, okay? But again, just don't put yourself down. It's a long process. Be patient. Do what you need to do with your courses. Finish all your requirements. Have all your prerequisites done. But start brainstorming. The early, the better. Connecting with your recommendation letters, people, and yeah, best of luck, guys. And I don't know if.
Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. I just wanted to add, if people have questions later on, even after this, like I am willing to give my email, and if anyone have questions for me, I will take questions afterwards as well.
All right. Just one more thing to add to that. One of my favorite professors, he always says, well, I guess we just have a thing that we say at Meharry, is the idea of Genesis being the beginning. And he says you're always one step away, like in the labs, in the dental lab, in the clinic, whatever you're doing, whatever project you're doing, you just have to come to grips with you're always one step away from starting over. And if you kind of accept that and know that it's a marathon and not always a sprint, then you'll be okay.
Thank you for that. And, you know, as we think about all the work that each of you have done on your path, you know, and I kind of want to close with this. Is there anything that you regret on your journey? And how did you know you were ready to apply?
I would say my number one regret is, you know, of course, like Aparicio was saying, you learn from the failures, but if I could go back and do things differently, I would have concentrated more on my science GPA a little bit more. And then I think that would have alleviated some pressure from having such a high, like having a high DAT. But if you can't go back in time and you don't want to repeat all those classes, I would say make sure you have a DAT score that you're comfortable with, that you know that you've earned, that you've worked hard for. And I think that really makes a big difference to help you stand out. So yeah, that's one thing that I regret or would want to do differently. But very, very thankful for all my extracurriculars during undergrad. I think that's what truly set me apart. Where I lacked in the science GPA, I made up for in other areas, and I think it showed in my application and also in interviews.
I would say, well, I don't want to say I have any regrets because generally I do not. But what I will say, something that I would have done different is if I had been interested in dentistry in undergrad, which I was not, I couldn't have cared less about dentistry. I would have joined the pre-dental club because I remember taking biology in Morehouse, and a lot of those guys I took biology with are dentists now. I see them and they see me and they're like, wow, I had no idea you were interested in dentistry. And the answer is it's because I wasn't. But if I could go back, I would definitely join a pre-dental or a pre-health society, just so I could have some sort of camaraderie and have a more direct path. We always want a more direct path, right? But there's just something that I wish I could have gotten an experience, is being a part of a pre-dental society or something like that.
If I have to say anything I regret, I think I have to say the same thing. I don't want to say I regret anything because I believe in developing myself and working on myself. I mean, starting with music and then going to nutrition and then taking that 5 years off to really figure out what I really wanted to do. I think that was really important for me. And for me personally, in my personal statement, that's what I really highlighted, and my growth through that process before dental school, and my experiences with work and continuing community service and all those good stuff. I think it really added to my personal statement. But if I do have to regret, I would say not getting involved in research. Although it's not a requirement, I think it's an awesome thing to have on your resume, especially when it comes to applying for residencies. Once you guys get into dental school and nearing your D3 year and thinking about applying for residency, I think that's a major thing that they always ask me during my interview. So I'm going through the same thing that you guys are about to go through, okay? Because I basically had to apply through ADEA again. And the same thing that Ms. James just went over. I was like, oh gosh, this is like flashbacks, like some PTSD for me, you know? And I had to go through the same thing. So all personal, and I had to do it during COVID, you know, asking for recommendation letters, and it was really awkward. Hey, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but can you write me a recommendation letter? Like, that's awkward. But having research, that's something that I would highly recommend. If that's something interests you, go for it. It really distincts you from other people that don't have any research, but it's not a requirement. But if you're into it, you should do it.
Thank you, everyone. I know there's still a bunch of questions left in the chat, but in the interest of time, I definitely want to make sure that everyone, could reach out to you in any which way, shape, or form. I know some of you have mentioned, being able to be contacted even after the session. If possible, could you drop your email in the chat just so that, our attendees have it for their reference? And I'll give us a couple minutes to kind of do that, and then I'll close this out shortly. All right. I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's session. Definitely, very informative, and thank you for giving us insight tonight for the dental school application process. I'm sure that many of our attendees are going to use your advice and guidance in order to take that next step on their path, and hopefully be to where each of you are now in dental school, and even past there and get to the profession. I want to thank each and every one of you for attending. Shantae, I'm not sure if you had anything you wanted to add. No, we're good to go.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, again, thank you everybody for joining, and look out for the recording. It'll be on our YouTube channel shortly. All right.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys. Good luck.